Oh, hello. So what you just saw there was the intro cutscene from the game I'm submitting for CMPT 1267. It's called, as of now, the Righteous Transvestigator and the Mysterious Production of Female Genital. Whew. It's a political satire slash detective game about transphobia and the idiotic ideologies behind them. It's essentially an RPG where you play as a cop, try to solve a case that was just introduced to us by the scene at the beginning. The objective is to first talk to a bunch of NPCs to gather information about the case, fighting and harassing citizens like a cop would, and hopefully find the person behind this atrocious crime, right? Plot wise, it revolves around this murder in the women's washroom, which is something, incidentally, the TERFs or the trans exclusionary radical feminists in the real world tend to accuse trans people, in particular trans women, of, and ridiculously paint this picture of them as a predator, abuser, or something along those lines that does not have a basis in reality at all. So, in this sense, the game tries to force the player to think a little bit about the rational basis for such an argument, and hopefully through different dialogues in the game, they will soon realize how dumb the entire charade was. All that aside, let's talk a little bit about the features of the game itself. Now, there are roughly three things I want to highlight here. First of all, are the shaders. Now, there are two kinds of shaders being applied here besides the typical color grading and camera effects. First is the pixelated shader to achieve this very retro style, but the one I'm really proud of is this occlusion mask shader, which intends to solve a problem in our fixed camera third person style here. So without this occlusion masking, the protagonist becomes obscured by foreground objects, so we can actually see them. Now, these works are done through a material function applied to a scene objects that affects their opacity. The function takes three key inputs: camera location, pixel location, and the player's location, which is passed in through the material parameter collection and updated every tick. Now, the math behind this is even cooler. So, we basically figure out the direction from the camera to the player and from the camera to each vertex of any particular object. Then we compare these directions using the dot product, which tells us about the angle between them. And we also check which one of these is closer to the camera itself. If a pixel is in the same direction as the player, but it's closer to the camera than the player is, we know that that particular vertex is blocking your camera and hence should be transparent. Now, for our dialogue system, I started with a blueprint only approach, but quickly realized it was just a nightmare to actually do the writing and editing of text there, and it gets very, very messy as well. So, I switched to a data table approach and model it using a graph like data structure to manage different branches. To achieve this, I just created a custom struct that contains everything needed for each dialogue piece, or conceptually a node within our graph. All these dialog nodes then get stored in data tables, which makes them super easy to edit, import, and export as a CSV file. Now, in our dialog actor component, we can just recursively move through the nodes until it hits one mark as final, at which point the conversation ends. The really cool thing is that these connections aren't just static, right? They're determined during gameplay. So a dialogue option may be available the first time you talk to someone, but locked if you're already made certain choices elsewhere in the game. To make this even easier to create and visualize, I also use AI to create this custom editor that lets me see the entire graph visually, and this can be exported as a CSV file. So we can just drag and drop it into Unreal, add the component to the actor, specify the entry node, and everything should work like magic. Finally, I've also implemented this very basic combat system that does blind traces and spawn different projectiles. And also, once you hit a certain combo, you can transform into this giant monster, have fun, and destroy stuff as well. Now the caveat is I haven't finished the writing yet, so just like the original Cyberpunk, we'll probably have to wait for a few patches before the game is completed. So yeah, but the entire system is ready to go though, and I'm tired. So, thank you. Bye bye.